From our studio in Georgetown, this is the TV Delmarva Channel 14 News at 4.
Hello, I'm Walt Marcus, filling in for Jonathan Mistrot. Thank you for joining us for TV Delmarva Channel 14 News. Straight ahead, the Sussex County Council announced the purchase of 151 acres of land for preservation, including 51 acres of the Hopkins Family Farm in Lewes. The criminal corruption trial of Delaware State Auditor Kathy McGuiness continues, with the judge overseeing the trial making several rulings yesterday. And children now ages 6 months to 5 years old are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine here in Delaware. These stories and more coming up, but weather first with meteorologist Hunter Outen.
Hello and good Wednesday, Delmarva. A little bit of different conditions out our doors today. We've been definitely seeing an increase in that cloud cover. We do have quite a bit of humidity as well, but we're now watching out for the threat of some pop-up thunderstorms across areas of the Delmarva Peninsula and especially just across the bay. Taking a live look outside the TV Delmarva studios here in Georgetown, we have that pretty thick cloud cover out there. The camera's shaking a little bit as well since we're having that sea breeze move off towards our west, but it's still fairly mild for the most part, but will be cooling down over the next couple of hours. Currently 80 degrees here in Georgetown. Take a look at satellite and radar. Well, the thunderstorm activity is right now being confined to areas of the Maryland Western Shore and as well as portions of Pennsylvania and Virginia. But we are starting to see a few pop-up storms here and there across areas of Delmarva. Now that will continue throughout much of the afternoon and evening hours, and we're going to be looking at a nice soaking rain tonight, all thanks to an upper level low that will be retrograding back westward tonight. Now we do have some weather hazards we need to discuss going in for the rest of this afternoon and evening hours. First off, we have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the most western portions of our zone in La Plata, Washington, D.C., Westminster, and Frederick, Maryland until 9 p.m. this evening. Some of these thunderstorms could contain some strong damaging winds to 70 miles per hour and some small hail up to the size of quarters. We also have a flood watch in effect for pretty much the same areas as well until later on this evening, with some of these thunderstorms may be accompanied with some heavy rainfall that may cause some flooding concerns in the overnight hours tonight. Take a look at current temperatures across the region right now. 82 degrees in Salisbury, 83 for Pocomoke City. Definitely much cooler in Ocean City at 70 degrees on the leeward side of that sea breeze as it continues to move off towards the east. Just west of that, 86 right now in Easton, 84 in Centerville. That sea breeze is by you in Dover at 74, same for Wilmington, and 76 right now in Newark. Take a look at dew points. We're definitely seeing some fairly humid conditions out there. Dew points in the mid and upper 60s, but we do have some 70s in some random spots, especially just across the bay. Current sustained winds, you can definitely see where that sea breeze is right now. All locations that are seeing that southeast wind and that increasing wind as well, sustained between 10 and 20 miles per hour, currently sustained in 18 miles per hour there in Ocean City, 13 in Pocomoke City, 12 here in Georgetown. But we have been seeing some wind gusts almost getting to the 30 miles per hour right along the ocean front in Ocean City. 14 for Pocomoke City and Salisbury, 18 here in Georgetown, and currently gusting to 23 miles per hour in Dover. Now we are going to be looking at an increase in some thunderstorm activity across the region, and as well as the rainfall for the overnight hours tonight all the way into tomorrow morning. I have all the details regarding that thunderstorm and rain threat here in just a little bit.
Sussex County Council announced the purchase of several parcels of land for preservation, including the former Hopkins Family Farm. The council purchased the land for 50% less than its appraised value. Jonathan Mistrot reports on the details of this land deal.
County officials announced yesterday the purchase of several parcels of land across Sussex County, which includes 51 acres of the Lewes area Hopkins Farm. The purpose of the purchase, farmland and natural resource preservation. It's part of 151 acres of land purchased across Sussex County this year, totaling more than $5 million. County Administrator Todd Lawson spoke about the acquisition during Tuesday's County Council meeting.
This is a really interesting story. Mr. Hopkins is a fourth-generation farmer known for grain and dairy production at the farm. Some of you may have indulged in their ice cream as well. So they currently farm this property, but had an idea that they would like to preserve the property and entered discussions with the Sussex County Land Trust, who was able to really foster that relationship to the point where we could start talking about acquisition.
The Hopkins family sold the land at 50% below its appraisal value with the promise of preservation.
But in return for a 50% discount, the family would really like the county and along with the land trust to foster this property into something that looks like an open space and public access outdoor area for the public to enjoy, something being located on the bike path of a trailhead, some walking paths, maybe some picnic areas, maybe even a fishing pond to enjoy the property and be able to get outdoors. You can see from this perspective, looking towards the south, the dairy farm here with the famous blue silos as you drive down Route 9.
The additional land purchases include 13 acres and 40 acres of land along Route 24 from the Dorman and Dawson tracts and 47 acres of the Jones family tract on Conaway Road in Millsboro. The acquisitions are part of the county's plan to preserve farmland and natural resources from development across Sussex County, which has spent over $13 million over 5,000 acres of land since 2003. Jonathan Mistrott for TV Delmarva News.
If you're the parent of a child aged 6 months to 5 years, you'll be able to get your child's vaccination against the COVID-19 virus starting this week. That's according to Delaware Division of Public Health. Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have approved emergency use authorization for the youngest age group. Both Moderna and Pfizer BioNTech vaccines are authorized for use in this age group now, with slight differences between the two. Moderna is a 2-dose series with vaccines which are 1/4 of the adult dosage. Therefore, children ages 6 through 5 years of age. According to officials, estimated effectiveness varies based on age. The Pfizer vaccine is a 3-dose primary series with a 1/10 of the adult dosage and is authorized for children 6 months to 4 years, as their vaccines for 5-year-olds have already been approved. It has an estimated effectiveness of 80% after the 3rd dose. The criminal corruption trial of Delaware State Auditor Kathy McGuiness continues, with the judge overseeing the trial making several rulings yesterday. Superior Court Judge William Carpenter Jr. limited or prohibited testimony from a few prosecution witnesses. Carper ruled that testimony from one former employee who claimed to have done campaign work for McGuiness on state time would not be allowed. He also limited questioning of 2 people who were expected to testify about alleged witness intimidation by the auditor. The former Rehoboth Town Commissioner, McGuiness, a Democrat, was elected in 2018 to the Office of Auditor, which investigates government fraud, waste, and abuse. According to prosecutors, McGuiness hired her daughter and a friend as temporary employees at a time when there was a lack of work for existing employees. According to prosecutors, McGuiness hired her daughter and a friend as temporary employees at a time when there was a lack of work for existing employees. They also allege that she set up a no-bid communication services contract for My Campaign Group, which she had used during a previous run for statewide office. She's also charged with intimidating and retaliating against employees who reported her alleged wrongdoing or who she believed might be cooperating with prosecutors. If you're awake early enough tomorrow morning, weather dependent, you might be able to see a rocket shoot across here on Delmarva. The launch of a NASA Terrier improved Orion suborbital sounding rocket carrying student experiments will be conducted around 5:30 a.m. It'll be on Thursday from NASA's Wallops Island Flight Facility in Virginia. The rocket launch is expected to be seen from the eastern shore of Virginia, Maryland, and southern Delaware. This will be the 14th year that the NASA Sounding Rocket program has provided suborbital rocket flight for undergraduate university students to fly their experiments into space. The unique project provides an opportunity for students to obtain hands-on experience in developing space flight experiments, which is vital in developing future scientists and engineers. The 36-long two-stage rocket will carry 39 experiments that will fly the student experiments to nearly 73 miles above. The experiments will land via parachute in the Atlantic Ocean, where they will be recovered by boat. After recovery, the experiments will be returned to the students, who are waiting to see how the experiments performed. Live coverage of the mission is scheduled to begin at 5:10 a.m. on the Wallops YouTube page. Launch updates will also be available on the Wallops Facebook and Twitter social media pages. The Wallops NASA Visitor Center will not be open for the launch viewing tomorrow morning. Coming up, the January 6th committee hearings continued yesterday with testimony from elected officials from Georgia and Arizona. A look at our national news stories as the news continues. Stay tuned. Testimony was heard on Capitol Hill yesterday featuring election officials accusing former President Trump of trying to coerce them into changing the election results. Their lives forever changed. NewsNet's Frank McCaffrey has this report.
The January 6th committee spoke out about Trump's efforts to influence an election.
The president's lie was and is a dangerous cancer on the body politic.
That set the tone for what was an examination of what the committee says the president tried to do.
Mr. Trump was told by his own advisors that he had no basis for his stolen election claims. Yet he continued to pressure state officials to change the election results.
Among those who testified before the committee was the Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers, who testified that he saw no voter fraud evidence and that he did not want to join the president in his efforts.
Did you tell the president in that second call that you supported him, that you voted for him, but that you were not going to do anything illegal for him?
I did, sir.
And there was the much talked about testimony of Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensberger, who saw the clip of Trump claiming his state had the votes needed to win.
They defrauded us out of a win in Georgia.
The secretary said President Joe Biden won in his state and that he took measures to ensure the accuracy of the election.
3 counts, all remarkably close, which showed that President Trump did come up short.
You're a threat to democracy!
The committee also heard stories of elections workers and officials dealing with protests and even threats.
It has all gone too far. Joe DeGenova today asked for Chris Krebs, a patriot who ran CISA, to be shot.
In a tweet today, Congressman Jim Jordan, an Ohio Republican, responded to what the committee broadcast by saying the same people who told us there was more than circumstantial evidence of Russian collusion want us to believe their bogus January 6th narratives. I'm Frank McCaffrey reporting.
Well, it looks like we'll have some more unsettled weather on the way for tonight. Let's get a preview of your pinpoint weather forecast with meteorologist Hunter Outen.
Get ready for a soggy night ahead with a chance of some thunderstorms in the mix as well, some of which could be on the strong to severe side, especially on the Maryland Western Shore. Rain could also be heavy at times all the way into tomorrow morning before clearing out just before sundown. But the good news is we are in store for a drier and warmer weekend ahead. So how much rain are we looking to get tonight? I'll let you know when we come back here on TV Delmarva Channel 14 News. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into the pinpoint forecast for the overnight hours into the day on Thursday. Even though the calendar just yesterday was telling us that it's now summer, but the next 24 hours is going to feel anything but like summer. In fact, it's going to feel more like April with some of the weather conditions that we are going to be seeing. For the overnight hours tonight, we're going to be looking at some periods of rain. Some of that rain will definitely be heavy in some spots, especially the closer you get towards the Chesapeake Bay region. And we could be looking at some few rumbles of thunder as well. Overnight temperatures of 64 to 68 degrees with a light east wind between 5 and 10 miles per hour. An update from the Storm Prediction Center regarding any thunderstorm risk. Well, that slight risk of severe weather that we had yesterday has now moved even further west, only including areas of La Plata, Washington, D.C., and Frederick, Maryland. It's a level 2 out of 5 risk. for the main threat of some of these thunderstorms in that area could contain some damaging winds and even a marginal risk, including areas of Baltimore City, Westminster, Lexington Park, stretching down towards the southern tip of the shore for level 1 out of 5 risk for the same ordeal. Here on Delmarva, though, we're going to be probably escaping any sign of any strong thunderstorms, reason being because we have a sea breeze that's moving across the region this afternoon, and that's going to keep things stable for the most part. Now, there's still the chance that we may see an isolated thunderstorm here and there, but anything on the strong to severe side is going to be confined to the Maryland Western Shore for the rest of this evening. Take a look at Futurecast. Rest of the overnight hours into the day on Thursday. This is 8 o'clock this evening, and we got widespread areas of precipitation here on the shore. Moderate to even heavy precipitation at times, and that's where we're starting to see a little bit of that thunderstorm activity for the Maryland Western Shore. Maybe even a few rumbles of thunder here and there on Delmarva, with temperatures already down into the upper 60s. Going into the hearty overnight hours, this is where things get a little bit interesting because we're going to be looking at some strong Frontogenesis with this upper level low just off of the coast of Delmarva, and where that sets up, it's going to be a big difference in your precipitation amounts for tonight. Now, right now, it has been consistent to showing areas of the Maryland Western Shore and western Delmarva in that zone for that heavier precipitation. Some areas closer towards the coast here in Georgetown and Ocean City may get significantly less precipitation for the overnight hours tonight, with temperatures in the mid 60s. Waking up tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, it's starting to shift a little bit back towards the east, but it's definitely going to be lighten up in that intensity as well, with temperatures in the mid and upper 60s. Going into the early afternoon hours, though, we're still going to be dealing with precipitation here on the shore, but it's definitely going to be continuing to decrease in intensity, and that's going to be keeping temperatures fairly cool tomorrow, only near 70 degrees for the most part. By the time we get into the evening hours tomorrow, we could be looking at some sunshine peeking through just before sunset. Temperatures still fairly cool in the upper 60s. And then during the hearty overnight hours tomorrow night into Friday morning, we're going to be looking at some clearing skies, but some patchy fog is expected to develop throughout the overnight hours. Here's what we got going on in the upper level pattern as of why we're seeing such cool conditions. Well, it's all thanks to this little storm right here. This has actually been meandering over the last couple of days, and it's actually going to retrograde back west in a very unusual pattern for this time of year, where we have a straight northerly wind throughout areas of the mid-Atlantic states, and that's keeping things cool, and it's actually trapping that system for the most part. But the good news is it's only going to be here for about 24 hours, and then a jet stream is going to take it and send it out of the way, and we got some warmer weather ahead for this coming weekend. Here's some of the forecasted precipitation amounts from the latest HRRR model, and as you can see, areas of the Chesapeake Bay region may see between 1 and 2 inches of rain wherever that band sets up, including areas of the Maryland Western Shore. But it's really going to depend on where that sets up, and we could be looking at some very big differences in precipitation throughout the overnight hours tonight. Thursday forecast overall, we got morning showers becoming mostly cloudy by the afternoon hours, and that sun may return for a little bit just before sundown. Definitely much cooler day ahead as well, of 74 to 78 degrees with some light winds from the northeast between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Allergy index for your Thursday, not really going to matter all that much because with the rain in the forecast, that's going to be keeping allergen levels quite low, a 1.3 out of 12 on Thursday. Take a look at the beach forecast for tomorrow, and it's not really going to be a good beach day whatsoever. Beginning with the Atlantic, we got showers, 72 degrees, winds from the east at 10 to 15 miles per hour with seas of 3 to 4 feet. Take a look at the Delaware Bay. We got showers as well, 71 degrees, winds from the east at 10 to 15 miles per hour, and seas of less than 1 foot expected. And then the Chesapeake Bay region, more of a way of a moderate rainfall, 72 degrees, winds from the east at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and you can expect less than 1 foot seas for the Chesapeake Bay region. Now, going into the overnight hours tomorrow night, decreasing clouds with partly cloudy skies, but that patchy fog will be developing throughout the overnight hours with the humid conditions and that fresh rainfall that we did see. Cooler night ahead though, 60 to 64 degrees with a light east wind at about 5 miles per hour. Let's take a look at that extended outlook, because after tomorrow we're going to be looking at some drier conditions and warmer conditions as we head in towards this weekend. We're going to be looking at temperatures getting into the upper 80s to about 90 degrees by Sunday, with a threat of maybe a pop-up thunderstorm in the afternoon hours on Sunday. A better chance for some more scattered thunderstorms will be on Monday with temperatures around 85 degrees. And we're going to drop down a few degrees for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, but at least we're going to be keeping those partly sunny skies.
Thank you, Hunter. Coming up, rent prices continue to climb, especially here in Delaware, but could they soon plateau? A look at our national story with the news continues. If you're a renter, more and more of your paycheck is going to pay for where you live each month. Newsnet's business reporter Andy Hirschfeld looks at if there's an end in sight to the price hikes in the rental market.
Median rents have continued to surge, according to Redfin. In May, the average rent price nationally topped more than $2,000 a month. That's up 2% for the month and a staggering 15% on a year-over-year basis. That is concerning, especially if you live in places ranging from Austin to West Palm Beach, Manhattan to Miami, and Cincinnati to Seattle. The live music capital of the world seems to be the standout here with a 48% rise. New York City is known for being expensive, seeing a massive jump too. The median rent price is more than $4,000 a month. According to Elliman, rents have increased by a staggering 31% in Manhattan in particular. That puts a lot of people in a pickle. NYC landlords typically ask for a household to make 40 times the rent annually. With that median rent price, that would total $160,000 a year. The average salary, on the other hand, in New York City is about $70,000. Even if you're in the city's 90th percentile, workers make about $110,000 annually, and they still couldn't even afford that. In part, that's why, according to that very same report, new rentals in Manhattan are down by 50%. New York's issue is indicative of what's going on across the rest of the United States and why surging rent prices could be peaking soon. The housing market is just like any other sector. It has been dealing with an overcorrection. Amid low demand during the pandemic, supply was high and demand was low, and that was quickly thrown in the other direction on top of supply chain challenges. That's what's happening right now, everywhere from the gas tank to the grocery aisle, and this is inflation-fueled. Heightened interest rates also means potential home buyers could also be deterred from buying new property. With all this in mind, economists largely think we're headed into a recession. And if history shows us anything, it's that will come with lower rent prices. In New York, during the Great Recession, rents fell 10%. There's a similar phenomenon in cities like Las Vegas, and Cleveland, and Orlando. So rents could trend lower in the coming months as we head into a recession. It's one of the only few silver linings about that economic situation. In New York, I'm Andy Hirschfeld reporting.
Weather Classroom is sponsored by No Nonsense Office Machines, committed to providing quality products and services with over 15 years of experience here in Sussex County. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's weather lesson we will be talking about Frontogenesis. Now, frontogenesis is a term describing the formation of a weather front or regeneration and intensification of an existing one. The necessary conditions for frontogenesis are 1. A temperature gradient. There must be a temperature difference between two air masses. No frontogenesis takes place around the equator, where the air masses are very similar in temperature. Number 2 will be the convergence of air masses. Now, the air masses must be converging or attempting to occupy the same space. Now, the convergence of air masses is an area of low pressure that forms in the northern hemisphere. Air flows towards the low and rises. Because the rotation of the earth, the winds will flow in an anti-clockwise direction around and into the area of low pressure. The warmer air from the south and the cool air from the north will be pulled towards the low. The boundary between the two air masses is also known as a front. Now, the sharpening of a front is the effect of convergence towards the front. It generally narrows the transition zone between the adjacent air masses. In other words, to sharpen the front, agostrophic wind components directed towards the front on both sides bring the isotherms closer together. The intervening air masses are then squeezed upwards and the transitional zone becomes narrower and the front so-called sharpens. The sharpens of the front is the maintaining against the natural tendency towards the diffuse mixing of the air in each of its air masses, which in all it creates a stronger forcing along the front and creates heavier precipitation that gets squeezed down between these converging air masses.
Time for a final check of our forecast with meteorologist Hunter Outen.
Make sure to keep the umbrella handy as you head out the door tomorrow morning with a chance of showers in the forecast, but you may not need it on the way home as the rain will subside and maybe even some sunshine begins to peek out just before sundown. But a much warmer and drier weekend is ahead with temperatures getting to near 90 degrees by Sunday.
All right, thank you, Hunter. And thank you for tuning in to TV Delmarva Channel 14 News. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook at TV Delmarva and our website, tvdelmarva.com, for real-time news and updates throughout the day. I'm Walt Marcus reporting for TV Delmarva Channel 14 News. Have a great evening.